What is up, Packer fans? Back again. Here we are, week 8. The Packers are 5-2. I mean, they're just doing so well this season. The first game of the year, they lost to the Eagles. Kind of a weird game in Brazil. Whatever. I watched that one out. And then against the Vikings, we were down 28-0. We came back, lost, 31-29, I think, something like that. So for the Packers, the two losses, just throwing it up there. And then this defense last week against the Texans. Wow, what a performance. This Packers team on offense. If Jordan Love can stop throwing interceptions, this offense would look amazing. If our special teams would stop returning the ball from the end zone on a punt and fumbling a punt. I know Nixon didn't actually fumble it, it hit Valentine, but still, you have to call fire, or whatever, get everybody out of the way. So if we can clean up some of those things and that defense can play the way they did against C.J. Stroud, this team, the sky's the limit for this team. And so just what they did against Stroud after what Stroud has been doing all season and last season was amazing. So for this Packers team, now 5-2, going down to Florida to play the Jaguars, who spent 2 weeks in London. They lost to the Bears 2 weeks ago. They stayed in London. Then they beat the Patriots last week, who the Patriots are 1-6. They're horrible this year. So Jaguars got the 2-5. We know Trevor Lawrence got his big contract right before Jordan Love did, but now Jordan Love is showing everybody why he deserved the contract. But for the Packers, we all know going down to Florida, whether it was Tampa, Miami, or Jacksonville in the past, for Aaron Rodgers was always an issue. For some reason, going to Florida was a problem for the Rodgers crew and the team around him. And so for Jordan Love, let's see if we can make it a new trend and start winning down in Florida. I don't know if he played any teams last year. I think we played Tampa. I don't know if that was in Florida. But anyway, so this year, let's start good. And I think we play Miami coming up this year too. I don't know if it's in Miami or in Green Bay, but again, another Florida team. So let's kind of get on the other side of that line of winning and losing when it comes to being in the Sunshine State. But for the Packers this week, Jordan Love, of course, has to ball out like he always does. I want to run the ball more. Matt LaFleur said Josh Jacobs in the second half, they had like 5 3-and-outs or 3 3-and-outs, one of the two. So it was really hard to get kind of into a flow, into a rhythm in the second half. First possession, fourth play, Love threw a pick. So just hard to get going when you're doing things like that, giving up possessions on turnovers and things like that. Hard to kind of keep things going. Obviously, we scored enough points to win the game, but we couldn't get the running game going much. On his carries, though, Jacobs looked really good. I think it was like 12 carries, 71 yards. Really, really running well, and then got his first touchdown of the season. Way to go, Josh Jacobs. I think that, all the time he spent with the Raiders and then coming here, we really made it a point to get him a touchdown. The play before the one he scored was an attempt to get him the ball in the end zone, and they couldn't make the play work, and then they ran another play, a different play, and that one was able to get the ball in. So, like what I see out of Jacobs. Got to keep running the ball well with him and Emmanuel Wilson, and of course we like, the backup they brought in, Chris Brooks, as well. So I like what the Packers are doing at running the ball, and then obviously the playmakers on the outside, the wide receivers. Romeo Doubs, 8 catches, like 94 yards. He's wide receiver 1. I said that going into the season. I know Jaden Reed really plays well. He really does put up numbers. Last week he had like 12 yards and kind of a rough game in general. So Doubs just super consistent, going to keep being that wide receiver 1. I think other guys are going to have big games. Other guys are going to have more touchdowns in games. Other guys are just going to be, have the numbers as well. But I think Doubs is going to have the consistency, and for the Packers, he's going to be the guy that they're going to lean on mostly, like what they did against the Cowboys in the playoffs. He had over 150 yards receiving. So Watson's back, obviously. He was back last week, but let's get him going again. And Wicks, he should be back. He should be good to go. Tucker Kraft, get him going. What a catch he had. What a throw that was by Jordan Love. If you haven't seen it, go look at the video on the channel. So for the Packers, what a win. And now against the Jaguars, who, the team is just not where they want to be, where they thought they'd be. They brought in veterans Christian Kirk. They brought in Gabriel Davis at wide receiver. They have Trevor Lawrence. They paid him a lot of money. Travis Etienne, who's a good running back. They have a defense that's decent. Josh Allen on the defense, not the quarterback Josh Allen, the defensive and the outside linebacker. But they also have other good playmakers. So for the Jags, it's just not going the way they wanted to. Doug Peterson, the head coach, obviously struggling, going to London and being in London. That's kind of a tough situation. But for the Packers, like I said, the offense, the weapons are going to be a key point to it. All starts up front, though, the offensive line. Rasheed Walker playing really well at left tackle. Can't believe how well he is playing at left tackle. Elkin Jenkins, he's going to be Pro Bowl selection, if not All-Pro this year at left guard. Center Josh Myers just holding his own. And then at right guard, Sean Ryan, a guy who I thought would come in 2 years ago and play right guard because he was the leading run blocker in college football his last season. I think it was his senior year. But so for Sean Ryan to be out there, I think he's a great player. And then at right tackle, Zach Tom, he just keeps balling out at right tackle. So this offensive line, the more they play, the better they'll get. Getting used to Love and everything, and then having obviously Tucker Kraft on help Chip, and then whoever else Chip. This offensive line's given Jordan Love time. They've been able to run the ball when they do try to run the ball, and so for this Packers offense, I really like what they're doing, like how they're going, where they're flowing to, but they gotta stop throwing interceptions. Well, that's all basically Jordan Love, so just have to clean that up. And obviously he's got 15 touchdown passes on the season with like 8 interceptions, so it's still 2-1. Leading the NFL in interceptions, second in the league, tied with Lamar Jackson with 15 touchdowns. The leader is Baker Mayfield. He has 18 touchdowns on the season. Who would have thought? Baker. But go Tampa Bay, good for them. And so the Packers, though, on defense against Trevor Lawrence in this offense, like I said, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the quarterback. Travis Etienne might play Tank Bigsby. 2 weeks ago, he struggled against the Bears. 3 weeks ago, he had a good game, and then last week against the Patriots, he balled out over 100 yards rushing, over two touchdowns. So it was like over 20 fantasy points, I heard. So really a good game for him, Tank Bigsby, and so him and Etienne might, share the workload in the backfield. Christian Kirk at wide receiver. They have Brian Thomas Jr., the stud receiver out of LSU. Gabe Davis, who's coming off an injury still, but he's a guy that played with Buffalo. He's a good player as well. And then, like I said, Evan Ingram, he was a guy who caught over 100 balls last year, and a guy who's coming off an injury. 2 weeks ago, he had a good game. Last week, not so good. Obviously, being in London is kind of a weird situation, so they'll probably look to have him bounce back this week. So the Packers are going to have to cover the tight ends. They have a few weapons at wide receiver. Again, the young rookie, Brian Thomas Jr., he's a guy that we're going to really have to pay attention to. If we pay him too much attention, other guys, Christian Kirk is a guy that can make plays. So we just have to kind of, make sure that offense stays corralled, play like we did against the Houston Texans. If we do that, shut down Trevor Lawrence, this game should be winnable for the Packers. On defense, we saw Rashawn Gary get a sack finally. I've been calling him out, not literally, just because I know he's a great player and he's probably just getting blocked over and over, and he's doing what he can. But he came out, he got a sack this week. You could see they were bringing him on different blitzes, different pressures, and Jeff Hafley was in his bag for real. That defense was lights out. I just want to keep seeing them play like that. Xavier McKinney had a sack. No turnovers for him, but he did have a sack. So now that's 5 interceptions on the season, 6 passes defended, 1 sack, 1 fumble recovery. What a first year for X. And then obviously Jair Alexander on the outside. He was getting into it with Stephon Diggs, and notably so because he shut him down, totally shut him down. So Stephon Diggs, I think he had 5 catches for 23 yards. That's nothing. I mean, for his career against Ja, it's just not very good. So good job, Packers defense. Good job, Packers secondary. Eric Stokes playing really well on the outside. You don't hear about him much, which means he's pretty much shutting his guy down. Keyshawn Nixon doing what he does. Having Evan Williams, the rookie, play as well as he has. Javon Bullard kind of came in. We thought he'd be the starter. He's just got the tenacity. He's kind of a dog out there. Tough guy. But Evan Williams is just a smart player. He's not going to make the mistakes. He's just going to do what he does and make big plays when it really matters. And, he shut them down in that 2-point conversion, and that ended up being the difference in the game against the Texans. So Evan Williams on the back end, having Bullard on the back end, having X on the back end. It's just a lot of different pieces the Packers can do. Move Keyshawn Nixon around, move Stokes around, move Ja around. It's just really awesome what this back end is able to do as a secondary, and they're just going to keep getting better and better as they play together as well. And then up front, Quay Walker did go out, but Eric Wilson, 2 sacks. So coming in against Houston, and so we're going to look for him to get after it if he needs to. Eric Wilson's a guy who recovered that fumble against the Niners when Keyshawn Nixon fumbled it in the playoffs, it would have been like game over if we didn't recover it. And he flew down the field and slid and got the ball. And so every time he comes in, he just always does what he's supposed to do. And he's a guy that I love to watch. Number 45 got 2 sacks last week against Houston. We had 4 total as a team. Shut them down. You know, I know Joe Mixon had his rushing yards and his touchdowns, but to have Stroud only have 86 yards, if we can do that to Lawrence and other quarterbacks moving forward, Packers are going to win a lot of games. And so for Green Bay, the defensive line, you know, it all starts up front always. Kenny Clark's doing what he's been doing. I like seeing Colby Wooden. He's really stepping up. Carl Brooks is really a good player. He's doing what he does down low. I want to see, hopefully, Devontae Wyatt gets back. I'm not sure if he was back last week in a limited role or if he's still waiting to come back. And then on the outside, like I said, Gary and Van Ness, you know, getting it done. And Enagbare is really, really doing well as a player, too. He's taking the progression he needs to take. So this Packers defense coming together. I like what they say, holding a team to 22 points, holding Stroud again, like I said, to what he did. I think the Packers should be able to take down this Jaguars team. I know it's in Florida. I know it's kind of a trap game because we have the Lions and the Bears, oh my, afterwards, and then we go and play the San Francisco 49ers as well. I think there's a bye week in between there somewhere, but either way, tough road ahead after this Jaguars game, and the Jags could be a trap game. We just, you know, they're 2-5. They're coming off a big win against the Patriots in London. It's a good win for them. Kind of a job saver for Doug Peterson. I think so many coaches have gotten fired coming back from London. I think if he would have lost to the Patriots, he probably would have been the next man out the door. So for the Jaguars, it's a big game again for them. They're at home after a long road trip, and the Packers need to keep this momentum alive. They have a 3-game win streak. Jordan Love, again, like I said, balling out. This offense playing really well. The defense on fire after last week. Matt LaFleur just got to pick a little bit better time to call different plays. Hopefully we can run the ball a little bit better. Got to keep playing that good defense and then stop the special teams mistakes. Obviously, the mistakes in the return game, not good. But our punter is freaking amazing. And our kicker, we have a kicker. Finally, we have a kicker. And Green Bay, we have a kicker. So that's going to be a big piece moving forward. I think everybody, or not everybody, but most people underestimate the importance of a kicker. A lot of games come down to a final kick at the end. A lot of games come down to minimal points at the end. That is the difference. The field goals that we missed against the Eagles and the Vikings ended up being the difference in those games. I think the Eagles won. We would have been still close, but either way, the Vikings won. We lost by 2. He missed the field goal. So if Brandon McManus, you know, can keep kicking the way he has, he's a veteran. He even said it himself. He's never missed 2 kicks in a row in his entire career. So for us, that is good. Go Packers. And I just want to keep seeing him do what he does. He just makes it look so easy. So there's so fluid of the motion. You know, very limited motion, and just, you know, just makes it look so easy. It doesn't even look like he's putting a lot of effort into it, and the ball just sails. So really exciting to see us have a kicker. The punter, like I said, Daniel Whalen, is amazing. A guy we pulled out of a bar in Ireland, I think. So it's kind of crazy to think about that. And now he's got one of the premier legs in this league. And for the Packers, a big weapon. Long snapper's got to work on his long snaps, but otherwise the Packers really starting to come into their own. 5-2, showing last year is not a fluke. Obviously, it's a very tough division, the toughest division in football. It's like one of the first times in the league history that all 4 teams are above 500 and all have over 4 wins by week, I think it was 6. So kind of an amazing stat, or week 7. But for the Packers, let's see what happens here. Win this game, move to 6-2, and then we start getting into the real bulk of our season where we have these divisional games. We've only had 1 so far in the first 8 games it'll be, and then after that it'll be 7 and 10 games. So that's 6 and 10 games. So, or 5 and 10 games, my bad. So that's a lot, but still half of the games coming up after this Jaguars game are divisional games. So really important that the Packers win the games that they're supposed to win, and then, you know, fight to the end in those divisional games. So for the Packers, let's see what they can do. Should be a win down in Florida. Go get some sun before this winter comes, Packers. Go Pack, go. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Go.